Bishop, first off, I mean, you're from Mississippi. You got a
Right.
little Mississippi accent. How does a Mississippi boy end up in Malawi?
When I was in seminary at Swanee, which is in Tennessee, it's an Episcopalian seminary, I think it was 1962 or 63, we had an English bishop from Africa who came to our seminary and informed us that the Archbishop of Canterbury, whose name was Dr. Fisher at that time, was very worried because as the British Empire was changing and all the colonies were receiving their independence, the Archbishop of Canterbury was worried about the investment that the church had made in churches and schools and hospitals and all sorts of social work in these colonies. And so this bishop from India was proposing that Anglican young people throughout the world volunteer to go to any colony where the Archbishop or his cohorts would consider to be necessary, and to work for the church for 2 years. And so at that point, quite a number of young people throughout the world in the Anglican Communion signed up, and it was called Ready for Anything. And I signed up, and we were supposed to give 2 years, but I went to Africa, and I ended up staying perhaps half of my adult life, I would think.
And you're returning there soon?
I return next month on the 11th, right.
Any idea how long you're going to be there?
No, I will be teaching in the theological school, and the bishop in my diocese has several things lined up for me, so I'll have to wait and see what's going on.
Well, and if I remember correctly, you helped establish one of the dioceses there.
I did. When I was elected the bishop in 1995, my task was to create a new diocese because the church is growing tremendously in Africa. So I went back in 1995 and established the Diocese of Northern Malawi. And I retired in 2000, and an English priest was chosen to be my successor, Bishop Boyle. And he resigned about a year and a half ago. And one of the young Africans that I had rather looked after when he was young was elected the next bishop. So he's the third bishop of that diocese.
And what's his name?
His name is Bishop Fanuel Magangani, which you probably can't say too easy.
No. Now, what is the native language there in Malawi?
The native language is Chichewa, and it's one of the many Bantu languages, all of which have some similarity one to the other.
And when you first got to Malawi, did you know the language?
No, I didn't, but I wanted to learn it very badly. And you see, I was in my early 20s, mid-20s anyway, and the mind works a bit faster then, you see. So I picked it up pretty fast. I use it most of the time now.
Now, Bishop, you're at least semi-retired. You're at a great place with here at Azalea Trace. You got friends like Charlie Pritchett over
Right,
here,
yeah.
a great musician.
Sure.
Nice air conditioning. Why do you feel the need to go back?
Well, it too is home to me. And, in the Church of England tradition, bishops are called your lordship. And when I retired, I asked them to ditch that name and call me grandpa, because in many cases I actually knew the grandparents of the people with whom I was working. And so I'm called Agogo now, which is the Chichewa word for grandfather. And I'm quite frequently used as a resource by them because I knew their grandparents and they didn't know them, and I can tell them what their grandparents were like. You see, the average age in Malawi now is about 14 years old.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow,
so
man.
we're a very young nation, right?
What are some of the problems facing the country?
We are still amongst the poorest nations in the world. Some people say we're the 13th poorest. Other people say we're the 10th poorest. We're not feeling the economic downturn in much of the Western world because we're already so far down. Food security is a problem because we're very much dependent on good rains. And I think another problem in our country is the fear of witchcraft. there's a tremendous amount of witchcraft still in the country. It goes throughout the nation. And the witchcraft, of course, is horrible, but also the fear of witchcraft causes terrible divisions to take place in families and villages. And it's amazing that in our time that is still such a hold over Africa. And I'm very sympathetic to them because some of these beliefs were just put in from the day they were born. I was gone about 18 months the last time, and I came back in May. So if health will allow me to stay, I will stay a long time. If not, I will come back.
What will you miss most about the United States?
Going into the beautiful grocery stores and seeing all the wonderful food. I won't miss air conditioning. I think Americans and Europeans are going to have to eventually get used to less use of so much power. And I think that if we could change our way of building houses in public buildings, we would be able to utilize trees and winds and things of that to add more comfort to our life without burning so much fuel. I won't miss the air conditioning, but I will miss a number of things. And I'll miss this beautiful place of Azalea Trace. It's just wonderful. It just couldn't be a nicer place. So, we don't have very much fuel in Malawi. There's not much gasoline. So you can get stuck somewhere, and you have to be careful where you go because you may be there longer than you intended.
You used to walk an awful lot when you first
That's
got
right.
to Malawi, didn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah. Those, of course, everybody my age talks about the good old days, but I think the good old days in Africa were when we had more game in the country, and we would walk for weeks on end to go to our destination, and with porters who would carry our luggage, which we call katundu, and go from village to village and greet the chiefs and live amongst the people. Those were wonderful days.
Can you, and just to close then, is it possible to share a Malawi blessing with us so we can hear it from a native tongue?
Well, I will give you the blessing that is familiar to most Christians, the peace of God which passes all understanding. Here it goes. Mtenderi wa Mulungu woposa chiziwitso chonsi, usunge mitima yanu ndi maganizo wanu, kudziwa ndi mkumkonda Mulungu, ndi mwana wake Yesu Kristu ambuye watu, ndipo dalitso la Mulungu wa mphamvu zonse Atate ndi mwana ndi mzimu woyera likhale ndi inu nthawi zosatha. Amen.